Hey D&D dudes, listen, I want to evangelize Path of Exile today, and I'm just going to run some footage in the background while I'm talking about it. There's a few major reasons why I wanted to do this. First of all, I'm a video game designer, been doing it for 30 years. My wife and I are big into video games. You know, you guys hear me talk about video games all the time. We're talking about, RPGs. Path of Exile has Path of Exile 1, which has been around since 2013, and Path of Exile 2, which came out around December, which is an early access. Path of Exile 1 is a free-to-play action RPG. It's way better than Diablo 2, way better than Diablo 3, way better than Diablo 4, and they got a thing called Leagues, and they have a league coming out next Friday, June the 13th or something. Today is like June the 7th, the day after D-Day, and it's called Secrets of the Atlas, right? Now it's going to be called patch 3.6. What I want to do in this video is I want to kind of walk you through like what's up with the game and how does it work and how does it play. Now I play what's called a necromancer zoo build, like tons of skeletons and tons of zombies and tons of visual effects everywhere and specters, and I'm debuffing everything and things are being destroyed. So you see I'm not even swinging a weapon or doing anything. That's the build I enjoy playing. I find it to be the most fun. My wife plays really awesome hardcore melee ranged, all kinds of very active builds. I'm much more of a empower the living crap out of my pets, debuff the area, let them destroy things for me. If the game is very, very, very hard in the end game. However, that's not why I wanted to make the video, right? What I want to make the video for is to encourage you to check it out and tell you some things about it if you've never played before. Now, I am not a YouTube streamer, gaming streamer. I've designed games for 30 years. I know everything about video games. But when it comes to knowing everything about this game, I do not profess to be the world's greatest expert, okay? What I want to do is go over some of the basic things about the game that makes it very, very different than anything else. First of all, it's class-based, right? You play D&D, you understand what classes are, you get ready to create a character in the game. There's going to be 3 choices across the front. A standard league, which you don't want to play. Whatever the current league in the middle is, in this case, it's currently called Settlers League. This is going to change next week, right? So you want to just leave the default setting. Like say I clicked hardcore, settlers, no, regular settlers, standard. You can tell by the yellow little slash marks on the side which one you have selected. See how they're changing? Select the one in the middle. Do not select either one of these, right? The Ruthless League is really nasty. Nasty things are very scarce. The solo self-bound means you can't trade with people. You want to play with a friend or play with someone else or be able to trade. The economy in the game is all about player-to-player trading, which actually has a big flaw in it in the long run, but I'll talk about that later. We're going to talk about the classes. So, the game came out in 2013. The graphics in the actual game and the maps are brilliant. The particle effects are amazing. The sounds are great. It's very gratifying. The control scheme's really cool. It's really insane. When you first look at the screen, don't think that this is terrible, right? There are different core classes, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You swore sinew and soul to serve God and the Order of the Templar.
The classes, unlike in World of Warcraft, don't determine how you play. They determine where you begin on the passive tree, and where you begin on the passive tree then will determine where you can go with your talents, because the talent tree, what I'm going to show you in a minute, is this really crazy, insane, shut up, it's this really cool, crazy, insane system where you have, here's the Templar, this is like, oh gosh, what's it, the Shadow, which is like a rogue. You have a Marauder, which is like a heavy-duty melee class. The Scion is probably the most difficult classes to play in the game. The Ranger is, an archer. The Duelist is a mix between melee and ranged. And the Witch is all pretty much a spellcaster. Now, with all that talking in the background, it's probably hard to hear what I'm trying to say. Now, let's go back and just load in my Necromancer. And let me show you what I mean when I talk about where you begin on the passive tree, right? So the passive tree in Path of Exile is famous. It's famous for being confusing as shit, all right? So what ends up happening, you see these little gear icons here, and a gear icon here, and a gear icon here. It's like this 3-shaped little icon. It looks kind of like this, right? Like a 3-pronged crappy set of wheels on a stupid Chimera or something. Or a steering wheel, or an ancient Roman emblem. When you pick a class, you start at one of those positions on the world map, so on the passive map. So when I started my Witch class, which then I specialized into a Necromancer much later on, and you could specialize in different things, I began here. And you see there's It's a 3-stat game: intelligence, strength, and dexterity. If I had started at one of other classes over here, as they level up and gain experience and gain levels, they might get more dexterity and more strength in a combination like a hybrid, or more strength and more intelligence like the Templar, or more dexterity and intelligence. So that's what the core classes are about. It's where you begin on the passive tree, and the passive tree is usually themed around things related to your class. Let me give you an example. So as you hit a level, you get a passive point. You can apply it. It's like a linear series of circuits that are interconnected, right? You don't just pick anyone you want anywhere. You have to interconnect these passives, which means that in this game, planning out a build is really, really important. But the first time you play it, just muck around with it, right? Because you know you're just learning, exploring, and figuring things out. Don't dive into the game hardcore. So you can see with the Necromancer, he's like a spell damage increase and intelligence and intelligence and intelligence. And since I'm playing a zombie slash minion build, it's called minions, I wanted to get to minions do more damage, minions do more damage, minions do more damage. All kinds of talents that are going to affect how I play as a Necromancer. Chaos resist, chaos resist, chaos resist, can't be affected by corrupted blood, one of the nastiest dots in the game that can just drain your health and kill you really quickly. So you can see that, I've gone to different passive spot locations that are heavily emphasizing minions. Like, I'm not casting any spells, I'm only debuffing myself and buffing the minions, and they're just destroying everything. Every single point applied in here is oriented either around me being protecting myself by blocking and having good resist, or minions are doing more damage, minions are critting, or I have more armor and life. Nothing is about, I do more fire damage. And as you could probably guess, in this tree, there's all kinds of billions of possible builds. Now you're taking a look at it here from the center, you can kind of see how, like, one of the classes might begin here and then work off of here. One works over this way. For example, let's go look at one of my other characters from a long time ago, from like 4 or 5 years ago, and change this league back to regular. And when let's pull up this, this level 90 champion I played a long time ago. He was like an archer shooting toxic arrow everywhere, and I was throwing down ballistas that were also shooting toxic arrow. So everything was about, throwing down, shooting an area effect like that blasted and burned the ground, that things would die when they get touched by it. Or I was throwing down ballistas that were also shooting the same thing at the characters as well. So in this character, the reason why I brought this up is there's been a full passive reset, but you can still see my old talents. So all these were like projectile speed, global accuracy rating, the amount of damage over time with bow skills, because everything I was doing, everything this character was doing, this champion class, was all about doing poison damage. Shooting stuff on the ground, in area effect, monsters come swarming in, they walk into stuff, tick, 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 they're dead. That was basically the whole concept, so I could just place these dots basically anywhere I wanted to go across the screen, and I could also throw down ballistas that would also shoot the same type of shots that I'm doing. So that was like, 5 years ago I played that build. It was really fun, really exciting. Over time, builds get, nerfed and debuffed and things like that. So we can pull this over here, dash away, throw these ballistas down, and just burn everything to the ground. So in the game, because it's very much like Diablo, things like run speed, how quickly you can area affect things makes a big difference. All right, let's go back to the Necromancer Girl. And that is in the league that's currently available. Been around since, maybe like last August or something. I always give my characters silly names. So if you're a D&D player, you're thinking, wow, you're not picking a class like a cleric and a fighter or a paladin and just getting cleric, paladin, or fighter abilities. You have the option to, I could have taken my talent points and branched off up here and gone down here and gotten bow abilities and started shooting bow moves. And so I could have made a build that used minions and poison or something like that. So this is where the game's complexity gets absolutely absurd, but endless and fun, because you can always learn about how things work. So unlike D&D, where you pick a class, or 4th edition, 5th edition, and you're stuck doing what that class does, builds are critical. Now, I will make another video that shows you there's a number of YouTubers who are very, very hardcore, who can walk you through amazing builds, and there's also resources on the web where you can look at everyone else's build and figure out what kind of build's going to work for you and all that kind of stuff if you really, really get in the game. The problem is, unlike, like Last Epoch, is that as you apply points, you can't say, whoops, let me just right-click and undo that. you are going to need to refund passives along the way using a currency, like an Orb of Regret. And every now and then you'll earn some refund points. You can see I have 6 refund points saved. So if I want to start refunding passives, I actually have to go, I can't pick one in the middle. I got to go to the end and start going around. Let's say that I wanted to, get rid of this, all this minions and critical strike, and I said, hey, I want life generation applied to energy shield instead for some reason for a build. I'd have to get some points freed up to go over here instead. So I want to, I'd want to redo these. So I'd hit refund passives. I start going click, 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 click. It's like taking a penny, and a penny back, and then taking the penny and put it over here. So that's the one thing about the system that I actually think is a really bad game design decision because it does encourage experimentation. What it does, though, however, is creates a community of people who are very scientifically hardcore about everything you can do in the game, and they create really interesting builds with really, really intelligent synergies that you could never figure out by yourself. So getting a build guide is definitely a great way to go. In fact, I almost recommend that you grab a build guide from someone else and just start doing it exactly as they say that first time, because then you'll start learning some of the lingo, some of the language about chaos resist and how the energy shield works versus armor versus dodge, all this kind of stuff. All right, so we got that covered. Now let's talk about some other interesting details. So like any other game, you have gear, right? You're wearing armor, you have weapons, you can switch to another weapon set. You have a helmet, a chest piece, 2 rings, a piece of jewelry, a main hand weapon, an offhand weapon, or a dual wield or two-handed weapon, a pair of gloves, a belt, and then you have a pair of boots, and that's it. Now you see all these little, gems, all right? They're not the same kind of gems you'd have in World of Warcraft or something else. These are actually called skill gems. So every one of these gems is associated with an ability, right? So let's just talk about that real quick. Let's think of this right here. Summon skeletons. Let's go out here into this little crappy map here, and I'll show you how some of the abilities work. As you level up, you're going to be able to get skill gems that you can purchase or find from the library or buy from a vendor for different types of currencies. And once you have the ability, you put it into a socket. And if the sockets are linked together, the adjacent socket will support it or amplify it. So this is a summon skeletons Val build, Val's ability. So I can click this button here, and it summons skeletons. And if you look up here, where you see the number 9, I can summon up to 10 skeletons, right? I have 3 specters, 10 zombies, 1 chaos golem, and then I have, I can summon up to 10 skeletons. They will decay over time. You see the little letters next to them? Those are telling you summon skeletons are being buffed by minion damage support, so they do more damage. Then you have feeding frenzy. They get boosted tremendously from that. Then you also get like a melee splash support, so they do splash damage. So when they're attacking and hitting things, they're splashing every effect around them. So that's kind of how the gear works. Now, the gems later on, once you go through the campaign, you'll unlock like a vendor that has almost every gem in the game. But when you're first playing out, you're going to get some reward gems, and you're not going to know which ones you want to do. So remember the 3 statistics that we talked about, intelligence, strength, and dexterity? The color of the ability score, basically intelligence, is blue. So these have requirements. Like look at this one here, right? It requires, see up here at the top, it requires 70, it requires level 70, and it requires 155 intellect, or intelligence, really. So I might have a red one, and it's going to require level 70 in this case, and 111 strength. So if I didn't have enough strength, I couldn't rank the gem up that high. Now these are all pretty much like rank 20 now, because I'm kind of like level 94 or whatever. But when you're playing the game, and you get situations like this where the abilities can be ranked up, you don't always want to rank them up, because you may outrank it past your statistics. And as you get further and further into the game, whatever your class is, it's going to kind of have like their main or secondary stat kind of as high as it's going to get, and then that tertiary stat won't really get any higher. And you don't just put points into the stats, you're going to get those by putting points into the passive tree, like this, right? So for my build, everything around here is pretty much intelligence, but every now and then I got a little strength, and that helped me because I wanted to use some strength abilities for some of my amplifications to my zombies, right? You may see things down, these are nodes. This is like a dexterity node, a strength node, a strength node. I picked this one up because it gave me 30 dexterity. So when I was working on my character, and I wanted my dexterity to be higher because I wanted to have a couple of green gems like Desecrate in here, and I needed to have at least 92 dexterity. So you're balancing your ability scores or your 3 stats around the skill gems you want to use. and the ones you want to support things with. Like my main ability is Raise Zombie, right? And you can see this is a 6-link chess piece. So I've got Raise Zombie. It's got melee splash support. It's got melee physical damage support. It's got minion damage support. It's got Feeding Frenzy in there. And lastly, their speeds. They move really, really quickly. Now, I am not the best Path of Exile player in the world. Gazzy TV and some of the other guys, Zizarin and Fub Gun and all those other dudes, and Ron Array, they are the best. And I'll make another video that explains to you all the YouTubers. If you get really into the game, you can listen to their videos. It may take you like a week or so to pick up all the lingo, but you'll see that, wow, these guys have everything figured out. And every time there's a new league, there's a new meta or a new series of classes that are extremely buffed. And they have interesting new builds for you to work with, which is one of the fun things about the game, right? So now you understand the skill gems, how they work. In the beginning of the game, when you first go through the little basic tutorial and fight the little basic boss, and you come into this scrubby-looking encampment here, you'll find this Nessa Girl is a girl who always sells gems. And there'll be round ones, there'll be support gems, and you can even see, like, for example, let's just pick one here, right? This Void Manipulation Support Gem, on the left-hand side, you can see which of my abilities I'm currently using it would support and which ones it would not. And some gems support things differently than others. All right, let's move on for the skill gem stuff. Let's talk about controls. You know, it's just like Diablo. It's not that big of a deal. You're holding the left mouse button down to run around. But there's a couple of details I want to show you. When down here, when you're assigning abilities to different hotkeys, you left click on it, and I could reassign this to anything. Like I could reassign it to my bone offering ability, which I currently have on a mouse button for. I highly recommend you set it to the naked footprint, which means move only. And here's the reason why. If you set it to an attack ability, in the beginning you're going to probably use the attack ability. If you set it to the attack ability, you might start standing still and shooting something or running forward and trying to hit something when you're trying to move through a crowd of area effects. So later on, you're going to really appreciate move only, and just put that on the left mouse button. Hold the button down, and you can run and turn. There's no dodge rolling in this like there is in Path of Exile 2, right? What you end up doing is getting like a mobility ability, like this Flame Dash Teleport, so you can move around and teleport really quickly to get out of serious, nasty trouble, right? Let's see, what else do we need to talk about? So that's the movement skill. I always recommend using the right mouse button and your mouse button on the side of your mouse, unless you're using a Razer Naga mouse and you're a big MMO player, for you to do certain abilities. Like I have a vulnerability, big area effect that reduces the physical resistance of enemies. Of course, when I cast that, all the zombies run over to that area as well. All right, so let's go and talk about the secondary bar. You want to bind a key to this because beneath this bar is another bar. And this is where I put buffs I turn on that stay on forever. For example, the Carrion Golem. You summon him once, he's always there. The Clarity for me is a buff that keeps my Mana Magician really high because I'm summoning and summoning and summoning, and things are killing and being resummoned, so I burn a lot of mana. And Tempest Shield is just a buff that gives me some lightning protection and does a little lightning damage to me, makes me immune to shock. That's just something I chose to do. I really, really enjoy it. I don't really use it for damage because I'm using a shield that has, has Aegis on it, which gives me another bonus. My character is designed around, I'm super resilient. You can't kill me in one shot. And I have a decent amount of life and a decent amount of mana shield. Regenerates really, really quickly. You can see in the lower left-hand corner here, the red is the life, and this is the mana shield. The mana is over here on the right. Notice how half of it's gone. It's because it's reserved for these two buffs that are running forever. If you ever played Dark Age of Camelot, you know what that's like, having a buff bot. So those are the basic kind of concepts you're going to bump into and start experimenting with. Now, you see my character is like covered with all these particles. The microtransaction and visual system of the game is really, really good. You can apply visuals to your auras. So I could take that off, and I could put it back on. Let's put that back on. Or I could say that I've got these wings, right? These golden wings I bought a long time ago. We could turn that off and turn that on. And there are microtransactions. Like, say I wanted to get a different piece of armor, right? Or I could change. Let's say I want to purchase armor for the slot. So as with most free-to-play games, they have, you buy a currency and then spend the currency. And we can do another whole video to talk about this at a later date. But the armor sets that they have in the game and the packages and the bundles and the visual effects are super fun. Everything from footprints to pets to auras to, you could create your own really interesting, crazy theme. You can change the look of your portals. It's probably the best microtransaction system for variety, style, and quality visual effects ever done in the game industry. Better than Warframe. Warframe's really cool. I give it a second place, but everyone else, like Diablo 4, is just terrible. New World's okay, but it's not as much crazy effects. I love all the crazy effects. It helps me stand out from the crowd of area effect. That's why I like to use that kind of stuff. So the microtransactions are wonderful. Another thing that's really, really incredible is the music in the game. I've connected on LinkedIn to the composer who works for them. He's a young guy. He's amazing. Let me go back to my hideout. And we can just adjust the volume levels on some of this. And as you may notice, there's a hideout in the game, and these are all custom laid out by players, and you can download other people's layouts. So all this stuff is editable. So I could edit this and start going, okay, let's take this one piece of stuff here and move it over here. So this is like another old mini game in itself. Now the reason why it has these millions of pieces here is this design that I have is really, really complicated. But if you had a very simple one, you could do things like, hey, listen, I want to move where the stash is. So I want to select it, and I'm going to move it over to here. And that's all you have to do, and the lighting updates and everything. So the opportunity to create a unique hideout for yourself is absolutely awesome. It's a very, very cool, tertiary feature to the game. You can put all your storage and all your crafting and everything else and some of the major NPCs you need to interact with in your hideout. It's just really useful. Like this guy here is a map guy. He may let me. There's an atlas that you have to do to advance in the end game. You can buy and sell. He can sell maps to you. You'll figure all that stuff out later. But the hideout is a really, really cool system. I'll make a video about that one day too. And everything is waypoint oriented as well. Now we were talking about music. Let's just do this. We're going to turn everything down. We'll turn the master volume up loud. We'll turn all the ambient sounds down. We'll turn the music up loud. And so I'm going to go to a couple zones, let you hear some music. The music in this game is just absolutely, it's just incredible. It's so well done. It's really good. It's like better than Jeremy Soul's Oblivion, Morrowind music. I've forgotten the fellow's name. It's kind of difficult to pronounce it. I can look it up for you and tell you his name. I believe in the hideout I can do a music player and change the music. Let me see if I can remember how to do that. I don't want to make the video too long today, but let's see if we can change the music. Yep, here we go, music. So we can change the music to different, like this one's good. The music is wonderful. The ambient sound effects are absolutely wonderful. Now I've got this turned up pretty loud. But gosh, when it comes to really cool, immersive music, and it's even divided up by the different acts, oh gosh, it's really good. So Path of Exile has probably some of the best music in the video game industry. And we're going to change this back to something. We'll put this back on. We'll put this back on. There, we'll put it on Merville's Caverns, and then we'll change the sound effects back to where we had it. So we're going to move the music back down to here. Okay, great. So we talked about better than Diablo 2, 3, and 4. We talked about its class-based. We talked about the statistics. We showed you the crazy talent tree, the 3-stat system, the gears and the sockets, the skill gems. We talked about them. Something I didn't talk about in elaborate detail is the skill gem system is you rank the gems up. So think of it as ranking up a gem ability. Like I have some gems I've stored in this storage pack that I picked up, but I never ranked them up. So as you use the skills, or as the skills are equipped, they will rank up in experience as you kill stuff. It's very similar to Warframe, where like you're ranking up a sidearm pistol, but you're not really using it. So that's very, very similar. Let me turn this sound down just a touch. It's probably a little bit loud. There we go. So, as you experiment and change skills anytime you want, like for example, I could take this Tempest Shield out, and I could find maybe another blue gem that I want to put in there instead, maybe a bolt. Maybe I want to put Frostbolt in there, right? And then that would end up being on my bar. In this case, the secondary bar now has Frostbolt on it. Now, I'm not going to play that way, but I'm just showing you just right-click to take it out, left-click to pick things up, drop it in, right-click to take it out. That doesn't cost any money or anything. We'll put Tempest Shield back in here, and we'll go back to here. We'll activate this. We've got this set to 1. Boom, it's back on. So the skill gems, you save them, right? They come in handy later on. There's a part of the game where super rare mutated versions of different gems drop. There's basically 3 types of gems. There's like an attack gem, or spell gem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's something you actively do. And then there's support gems. And support gems are always round, and they always modify something that's an active ability. You'll also find some very rare ones called Val. Like, for example, my Summon Skeleton ability down here is called Val Summon Skeletons, right? That's down here. This summons skeletons normally, but once I kill a bunch of enemies, the power builds up, and then I can summon like 36 skeletons, which will do 21 soldiers, 9 skeleton archers, 5 mages, and 1 skeleton general. It's hilarious. Great for boss fights. Great when I need to clear a lot of stuff that's really resilient and the vulnerability is not doing enough to them. So we talked about that. We talked about controls. We talked about visual effects. We talked about music. We talked about the microtransactions. We talked about how difficult it is to respec, how it's good to go get a build. I want to talk about the economy. The currency system in this game is very different. This is not a gold pieces game. Even though they've added gold to the game, it's not the primary thing you spend money on. So let's just go back to Lion's Eyes Watch, which is like the starter town. Every act is going to have its own town. Actually, let's show you another town just for the change of pace. It has a little house symbol. See? Act 3, little house symbol. Let's just go to this one over here. This is the forest encampment. Things load pretty quickly, which is always great. So when it comes time to buy and sell things from people, when you want to buy something, notice how you want to buy like this scepter. It costs 1 orb of alteration. You're like, where do you get that from? Those things drop in the game world, and you can exchange things to a vendor in groupings and get a specific currency back. And there's a massive wiki. The Path of Exile wiki is absolutely awesome. It shows you all the ratios of everything. So, for example, let's say that we wanted to get, these are orbs of transmutation. This calls orbs of transmutation. Say we want to go over here, this girl over here, and want to buy a new skill. Let's try buy a ring, an orb of alteration. Sometimes the currencies are for sale in here. Orb of scouring, it lets you remove the modifiers from items. So the crafting system in the game is very complicated. It's not like New World where it takes forever, and it's not like World of Warcraft where it doesn't take long at all as long as you got the stuff. The crafting system in the game has a tremendous amount of RNG because you don't really get gear to drop. You get gear to carry you through the campaign, and then as you start getting those skills line up the way you want them to be, then you start saying to yourself, okay, I really want to do a flame wall build with, you know, a wand ability that shoots the flame walls and picks up the wand ability, like prismatic sphere or something like that. I can't remember the damn name of it. It's kinetic bolt and flame wall. They may have a synergy together. As you start to figure out how you want to play and the abilities you want to use, you're going to want to focus on trying to get a piece of gear with the right stats on it. So, for example, this is a calling wand. This is a calling wand of skill. It's like a blue one. And it has minions deal increased damage. That'd be good for a minion build, right? And then you have one here, minions deal 14% crit damage and then 26 increased damage. So this one would be better, but doesn't have the right number of slots. So using some of the currency in the game, you can re-roll the number of slots, and it takes a lot of currency sometimes. You're just going roll to try to figure that out. There's great YouTube videos to explain how to do that kind of stuff, how to remove implicit and explicit modifiers off of gear, try to re-roll the number of sockets. What you want to do when you first play in the game is just burn through the campaign, get through as high as you can, get as much experience as you can, collect as much stuff as you can, sell stuff to vendors to get currencies, learn about your class, figure out which ability sets you think are fun and cool and work for you. When you start dying and having a tough time, maybe then go watch a couple YouTube videos like, hey, I'm playing this kind of a build, an archer build. What should I be doing that I'm doing wrong, and figure that out. Because later on, you're going to engage in an economy with other players where they're selling stuff out of their hideout, you're selling stuff out of your hideout, and people are going to their web page database and searching for a specific piece of gear and then clicking a button that sends you a tell in the game, and then you can accept the tell. They can come to your hideout, and then you can trade. And there's kind of like a rules of thumb on trading. I should do another video on that at a later date. Let me give you an example, right? This wand, for example, right? It has this minions deal 22% increased damage at the top. You can hold down the Alt button to see what the maximum of these would have been. And I've maxed the quality out, etc. So then it also has an implicit modifier right here that says minions do between 26 and 30% increased damage, right? You see that? Let's put I can't put the mouse on it because I got to hover at the same time. We've got this. This is 30. So this is an RNG thing. This is not something that I rolled over and over and over to get it. I had to buy this one with this implicit and this modifiers on here to try to get the highest number I could. And you see minions deal 115% increased damage, and they have 31% increased critical strike and 33% critical strike multiplier. So for a wand, for a necromancer, for me, you can see the prefix modifier is called Dukes. That was max mana. Didn't care about that. But the minions deal 28. So it's 1 percentage point away from the best you could get in the game. The minions deal 87 is in the middle because 99 would have been, it's a tier 2 version of damage prefix. Go down to suffixes. We see we minions have 33% crit strike multiplier. Could have been up to 34. Minions have 31. Could have been to 39. And this chance to ignite is whatever, right? Every piece of gear that you're wearing is going to try and focus on particular statistics. Like, for example, this helmet gives me +1 to the maximum number of raised zombies, +1 to the maximum number of skeletons, and then the other stats are things that boosted my character across the board, like more mana, cold resist, chaos resist, intelligence, and armor. Things that are important to me. There's not a single stat on here. They're not all the best, but there's not a single stat on this helmet that sucks, that I don't want, right? Then you'll sometimes have like orange pieces of gear, right? Which are, I forgot the name of them. It's just so many damn games I play. The reason why I like this shield in particular is because it creates this Aegis effect around me, which gives me like a damage mitigation, and it changes whether the Aegis has been dropped or if it's been lowered. It has a lot of armor and evasion rating on it. It has increased block recovery, because when you block something, you kind of get staggered for a millisecond. It adds +2 to socketed support gems on this. It triggers level 20 Aegis when equipped, which you won't see here. I'll tell you what, let me go out into the world and show you what that looks like. Notice how there's no auras on me when I'm in the like camps, which are like safe areas. We'll go out here and all our auras will pop on. Boom. So all the auras are popped on. We got this on, we got this on. So up here you see physical Aegis, hits taken, hits the Aegis before your life or energy shield. So it's actually like having an extra 1,000 hit points. That's why I like that shield. You know, high-end guys are like, that's a piece of shit, right? They would probably craft a shield that's better for them. But for me, melee splash support for my carrying golem and faster attack support on this with +2 means that my carrying golem is going to do fantastic damage and it's being boosted. So we talked about that kind of stuff. We're going back to the economy. Let's go to our stash. And the stash is across all your characters on the account in a league. You can buy bag tabs of particular type. Like this is a currency tab. These are all the currencies in the game. Notice how there's no gold anywhere. So different things have different functions from crafting perspective. Let's give you an example. Let's take this stupid level 3 map that's just white and not even buff. We throw this away, don't need this anymore. Make sure I'm not throwing away something good. This is a stupid frost gem. Yeah, okay, we don't want that. Get rid of that. So let's say armory map. Now, you know, using the currency, you could do things like, hey, listen, I want to take a normal item and upgrade it to a magic item, which would be like white to blue. So this map would then have other modifiers on, like zombie, monsters hit harder, there's burning on the ground, all kinds of modifiers, like mutators were in Unreal Tournament. Reforges it from magic with new random modifiers. I say, oh my goodness, it says you can no longer block. I could spam this currency, which I don't have very much of, to change it to hope that re-roll to one of the other, 1,000 types of things. This might remove a random modifier. I don't have control over it. This might upgrade a normal to a random rarity. It might become blue or it might become yellow. I could put a regal orb and make it from magic to rare, but you can kind of see what things are dropping in the game more than other. So let's just take this map and we're going to upgrade it from white to yellow. Now, I have no idea what's going to happen when we do this, right? So item quantity is increased by 52%. The rarity is 30%. Monster pack size 20%. Hey, that's great. Monsters gain a frenzy charge on hit. I don't care. The zombies are killing them. Area contains 2 unique bosses. Hey, that's great. They might drop something. All monster damage from hits always ignites. That means if monsters hit me, I'll have like a burning ignite effect on me, which could be scary, but I have really good resist. Monsters may won't hit with attacks. I don't really worry about that because I'm going to be blocking. The Aegis will collect that stuff. So that would work really well. So if I wanted to then go and run this map, I would go back to my hideout, because mapping, or using maps and loading up random maps, is the end game of the game. And you end up progressing another whole entire talent system by completing different maps and getting atlas points. So we'll put this into our little map device summit. It'll make these little portals, and we'll go into the map, and then we can run around, and we can see in the upper right hand corner, if we hit the tab button, we can see level 7 Settlers League, etc. We can also see with the map button, not this, that's the microtransactions. we can see we have a mini map in the upper right hand corner. If we hit tab again, it's going to tell us how many more monsters remain, etc., etc. And we can then, this is a league play system called with Sister Cassia that does a cool tower defense type thing. I've got my character spec because I love those, where that happens a lot. This is a visual effect, just the effect that would kill you. So anyway, that's basically how you'll create maps, see how these different modifiers are happening maps. See these debuffs that are hitting me now? Let's just get out of here. And we just put our more zombies on the ground and get rid of him. So let's go out of here because we're not doing mapping right now. I want to talk through a couple more things, then cut the video off short for you. Okay, back to my hideout. If you were to die, notice how one portal went away. So if I go into the map again, if you're playing with your friend, you only have X number of times to enter and exit the map. So I've gone in there once, I've gone there twice, and if I go back out again, portals start disappearing. Now you can always put a new map in there, like, oh, this map is terrible, I'm going to do a different one. So go to the map again. Let's say you were to die. If you die, you'd be warped back to your hideout, and you can lose experience, which sucks. One of the worst things in the whole world. It's like EverQuest 1. And you can see the portals are disappearing that say Armory. You can also bind a key to hide those kind of pop-up things everywhere, where things only pop up if you actually mouse over them and then click on them. Because there's so much loot and junk dropping on the game, they do have a system where, like this sword's here on the ground, you can also bind a key to make that show up real quickly and just toggle it on and off. Last thing I'll talk about with loot, which is so crazy, is there are player-created loot filters. Loot filters are fantastic. Like NeverSync is like the best loot filter creator ever. These are like text files that filter out different types of things. You can configure them. You can have them uploaded automatically. That requires a video in itself. You can take a video. How do I set up an item filter? The item filter prevents you from showing crap that you don't care about. So as you get higher and higher level in the game, you may find that, like, listen, I don't want to see any armor. I don't want to see any more crappy gear on the ground anymore. You can also you can see the colors and the highlights are all based on what the loot filter is set up to be. That's really nice. I have a button on there to get rid of it. Sometimes I'm fighting, it's very busy. There's all these zombies and crap on the screen. It's hard to keep track of what's happening. So I don't want to have to see all this on the screen that gets in the way. I don't want to actually click on the strong box while I'm trying to move around. So I have a button bound to hide all that stuff. And we could talk about that at a later date. All right, let's go back to our hideout and try to wrap things up. And don't think that playing the game the zombie build is the coolest way to do it. So we talked earlier about buying and selling. And that requires a whole, I keep saying this, it requires a whole video in of itself. But what you're going to want to do is understand that every one of these currency items has a function in the game. Like this one right here, reforges the color of sockets on an item. Let's just grab a piece of crappy gear out of the cell tube, cell tab. Let's just grab, let's see, this crappy little wand, right? And let's go to the currency tab and say we want to take this and apply it to zero. Blue, blue, green. Now they're already linked. It's not going to kill the links, but it just changed one to, and you can actually hold down shift and go, okay, now it's red, green, and blue. Say I was looking for one that's all three blue and connected, that might be great, and that works for me. So you can spend currency to modify gear. You can also spend currency all over the place. So the currency system is complicated. In summary, right? Path of Exile is the kind of game that you could play as a hobby for a decade. And every time there's a new league, all the different talents and everything get buffed or shuffled around, or one class will get something buffed, another class will get something, debuffed, something that was really cool. They don't do a lot of nerfing. They do some slight nerfing. They mostly bolster something. The difficulty of the game gets very, very, very hard. But you can get a hell of a lot of enjoyment out of the game playing it casually, collecting gear, figuring out how, ranking up your skill gems, making the mistake of ranking up one too high, redoing your talent trees, collecting more stuff here, doing every single quest in the game, get all the passive points. You can even start dabbling in buying and selling and how that works. You have two tabs that you can flag them as publicly accessible. Let's just do it like this. I've got them turned off right now because I don't want to bother me while making a video. You can make tabs that only have, particular, let's put this up to the top, that are set to be just for maps. You can have maps, tabs that are just set for essences, which is another whole crafting system. So because the game's been around for so long, every time they made a league, they made a new crazy mechanic. And then a lot of times those mechanics kind of get grandfathered down into the base game, and sometimes they completely go away. So you never know what you're going to get. Like this Settlers of Calgon thing, which is like this really fun kind of crop shipping and harvesting to get resources thing was great. It was called King's March. They added this like last September. It's going to be in the next version of the game, but I think they're taking the rune crafting out. So you create all these buildings. They're default layouts. You hire workers to come work for you. They can do things from raising crops to working on stuff. In fact, let's go over here and take a look. And you can ship things off on a map, and when things come back, you get resources. It's kind of like an offline currency development. You can disenchant gear, et cetera, et cetera. So these guys are all like, I can set this farming plot to do, wheat, right? And they're just going to change into doing wheat. And then maybe I can modify the whole map and start controlling who's doing what in the map. It's like a mini game in of itself. And the goal with that system is for you to ultimately maybe, you can disenchant things there. You can go to the shipping guy and ship things off. And there's whole videos about, hey, if I ship this stuff from here to here, if I ship this much crimson iron and this much petrified amber, which I picked up in the game doing the game world stuff, I could change my miner guys to do crimson iron, right? Which is really crazy. So we could go back here to this map here. Say I want my miner guys to do, let's see, crimson. Can we do that? Yeah, let's have them change them to do that. And we only, how many workers we have? We have 8 to 12 guys on here. So we just put these guys in here. And it has a cost per hour, which is what the gold's used for. So it's an amazing game. It's totally fun. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do. My wife is way more hardcore and experienced than I am. We were thinking about maybe streaming the two of us playing together. I'll play my zombie build. She's going to play like a brand new champion build that's really powerful. It's supposed to buff the zombies as well, the minions. So we'll see how it goes. We got a little bit of free time here coming up in the next week. So next Friday, that's going to kick off. And yeah, stay tuned. And I thought you D&D guys might want to get like a super fast crash course and stuff. I'll make another video that shows you which YouTubers and which websites are the best to have bookmarked, from the wiki to to PoE Ninja to all the different YouTubers, etc. It's a really powerful, fun, great game. You can play it forever. And yeah, have fun with it, and we'll talk to you again really soon. Take care.